Hello and welcome to another edition of the Chamber right here on Citi TV. It's the second week of the third meeting of the first session of the 7th Parliament. And of course, this is the Chamber. My name is Mensah, Opoku. We bring you everything you need to know about what has been transpiring in Parliament this week. We'll take a break here. When I come back, we will begin a wrap of the major happenings in Parliament in the recap segment. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us. The second week of Parliament, this meeting, I should say, since they came back from recess, has been quite interesting. And in this segment of the program, the recap segment, we've curated for you the major issues and happenings on the floor of Parliament and in and around the House for your viewing pleasure. Ordinarily, admission to the Ghana School of Law for Professional Legal Education requires that successful candidates obtain a minimum rank of 50% during an entrance exam organized by the General Legal Council. The 499 LLB graduates were denied entry because they failed to obtain the pass mark. The students contend that they were only informed of this particular directive after the exam. Subsequently, the aggrieved students have petitioned the presidency and Parliament demanding an urgent intervention. On Friday, Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Penyo-Marking raised the issue as a matter of public interest on the floor of Parliament.
They created a certain marking scheme where you should have obtained 50% in each section, and that if, for instance, you got a higher mark in section B and a lesser mark in section A, although if it's added, you get more than 50, to them you don't qualify. Mr. Speaker, this, I humbly contend, is repugnant. Students are frustrated. Students are traumatized. This is not a matter of closing in. If you say 50% is the pass mark, so be it. Just as politicians, when we get it wrong, they tell us. We are telling Ghana Law School that they continuously frustrating students. They are making the study of law unattractive.
Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak expressed similar concerns about challenges with legal education in the country.
This idea, with the greater respect to the former Chief Justice, we won't open up for anybody to become a lawyer. Who is anybody? Every Ghanaian matter, just ask your son and daughters. It is not the sons of lawyers and doctors or politicians or the influential that have the only right to be able to have access to any profession in this country. If they don't know what to do, we can tell them that they must go and admit everybody who has passed before admission, before the next academic year starts.
After submissions from other members of Parliament, the Deputy Majority Leader moved a motion which was seconded by MP for Bulsa South, Dr. Clementa Park.
I therefore move that this House resolve to direct Ghana Law School, and for that matter the General Legal Council, to offer admission forthwith to all those who obtain the minimum pass mark in this 2021-2022 academic year to enable them pursue their professional law program.
The Speaker subsequently issued a directive after the House passed the motion.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All against the motion, say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Ghana General Legal Council is hereby directed to proceed and admit all the students who pass in accordance with the advertised rules of the examination.
In relation to the matter of the aggrieved law students at the Accra High Court, the case was adjourned to November 9th. Members of the Lands and Forestry Committee of Parliament visited the Lands Commission on a familiarization tour. The chairman of the committee, Francis Menu Adabo, and the ranking member, Abdul Rashid Pelpu, spoke to the media after the tour.
We have more trained people here than we even need. But how to tap the resources from these people is the problem. So we'll get them working, and the minister is aware that the digital platform must be created. So the minister is going to support, and we'll also do the advocacy in Parliament to make sure they get the resources to work.
We have noted some challenges. We are looking forward to them, to come up with them, to us formally. But we definitely would deal with them in the course of the budget approvals. How they are going to work out these challenges into the requirements of the budgets. The budget includes activities. If it includes activities, we want to know whether these activities are going to tackle the real challenges we are seeing here. And if it does, that would have been one-way solution to the problem.
The Member of Parliament for Wa West, Superintendent Retired Peter Tobu, raised questions on the floor of the House about the state of CCTV cameras to be installed at police stations across the country.
I rise to ask the Minister for National Security the state of the project in which CCTV cameras were to be fixed in all police stations across the country.
In response to the question, the Minister for National Security, Albert Kandapa, indicated that 432 police stations across the country without cameras will be fixed by the end of the year.
The police have some 900 police stations in total operational areas across the country. And this Phase 2 project is providing CCTV coverage for all 432 regional, divisional and district police stations out of the 900 to enable monitoring of these installations. And the remaining stations, Mr. Speaker, would be covered in subsequent phases of the project. The rollout is currently ongoing, and if I can repeat, all 432 stations will be completed before close of the year.
MP for Dwaboso Kwabena Mintah Akando made a statement on the floor of Parliament about excessive politicking in relation to the confirmation of MMDCs. The Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Dan Boche, expressed reservations about the statement.
See at what point the executive arm of government is involved in that. For it to merit, surprisingly, a statement that has been admitted on this floor, that this is not a cause to be left at the doorstep of the executive or presidency. What cause are we talking about? The cause of the confirmation process? Which law? Which law? And by what practice can anybody point out that at an assembly, the executive arm of government was involved? At what step? The assembly can only be convened by the presiding member, and the elections are supervised by the Electoral Commission.
Kwabena Mintah Akando later in an interview expressed dissatisfaction with the response of the minister at a press briefing.
Looking at happenings in the confirmation of the various district, municipal and metropolitan chief executives, I think that we all, especially stakeholders in governance in this country, must be worried about the development so far. It is not for nothing that people have opportunities in democracies to register their displeasure if they so disagree with those at the helms of affairs. If we don't guard against that and we decide to muzzle or raid the citizenry of those rights, we stand the chance, or we stand at the verge of collapsing our democracy.
Some members of the minority expressed views on the issues surrounding the attempted arrest of MADINA MP Francis Xavier SOSU.
We think that the current attitude of the police service, particularly on a member of parliament whose only crime in their view was to have led his constituents to ask for legitimate public service of road construction and what have you, we see it to be very unfortunate. For members of parliament, we think that we must insist on the on the dictates of the constitution, and on that basis, if for one reason or the other, Minister of Interior, because the police service, they report to the Minister of Interior. If the Minister of Interior is minded to intervene and ensure that the right things are done, particularly after Mr. Speaker has written to the police service, we think that that's the way to go.
To be truthful to police are being capricious and whimsical. To be truthful, they want to show off power. They want full force that they have the power. They have power, but you must respect the laws. They are defiling the directive of speaker. And then, to be truthful to you, I'm calling on the speaker to give them the directive. They must summon the police administration to the privileges committee.
This week on From the Floor segment, I have two separate interviews with the Member of Parliament for Subin in the Ashanti region, the Honorable Eugene Boachientwi, and the Member of Parliament for Wa West in the Upper West region, that is the Honorable Superintendent Lanchene Tobu, retired. And their views are varied on the matters regarding the arrest of Francis Xavier SOSU, Member of Parliament for Madina, and the digitization drive by the Vice President, as was espoused in a recent public lecture this week. Hello and welcome back from the break. This is the From the Floor segment. My guest today is a Member of Parliament for the Subin constituency in the Ashanti region. Of course, major issues this week in the House got to do with the attempted arrest of Francis Xavier SOSU, Member of Parliament for Madina. It's a matter that has generated a lot of controversy and a lot of concern on the floor of Parliament. Of course, the past 2 weeks been a very interesting issue as well. We'll also look at the matter of the digitization drive by the spearheaded by the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Of course, this week there was a big lecture at the Ashesi University where a lot of plans were announced, among others. We'll be delving into that. But let me first of all welcome the Honorable Eugene to the set and for this discussion. We welcome Honorable Eugene Boachientwi.
Well, thank you, Luke. Nice having me on this very important program.
Yes, sir. So let's begin by looking at to break the ice, by looking at your trajectory in politics. Just briefly, your trajectory in politics.
Where should I start? My father was a student leader, the second batch of Ghanaian students to be trained at the Ghana Law School, the 1960-year group. He was a student leader, vocal to the point of being arrested and detained without trial under the PDA in 1964 when he was about to write his final bar exams alongside Justice Kluje, of blessed memory, former Supreme Court judge. Then life took me to England, where I was also privileged to come under the tutelage of the late Victor Kwame Owusu, the 1979 presidential candidate of Popular Front Party, our antecedent, or I'll say our forebears, who also taught me a bit. And then from then on, I stood and I contested for the secretary of the MPP UK and Ireland branch and won on my first attempt from 2005 to 2008. I had to come home to contest for Subin in 2007, my first parliamentary primary, where I lost to His Excellency Isaac Osei, who was a former Ghana High Commissioner to the Court of St. James's in Britain. And then I had to wait for my time. 2015, fortunately, the good people of Subin elected me to come and serve them. And as you are well aware, this is my second term in Parliament. I don't know where first term I belonged to 3 committees. I belonged to the Education Committee, the House Committee, and then the Standing Orders Committee. I was also privileged enough to have been given the opportunity by His Excellency, the President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to serve as a Deputy Minister under Honorable Samuel Atache at Works and Housing. And then we came a second term. I'm now on 2 committees, serving as a member of the Lands and Forestry Committee and a Special Budgets Committee. So this is where I find myself today.
It's interesting how you were able to, in an election that you went up against a colossus, if I may put it that way, you were able to, beat him at the primaries and get to Parliament on your second attempt?
Yeah, I would say it's all hard work and perseverance, determination. I would say. I think the good thing that happened to me is I stayed behind and did not dream of going back to England after losing to him in a very close battle. I think that time there were about 94 chairpersons who voted. It was a very small college at the time. And he beat me. He got 52, I got 34. Another person got 18. It was more or less a split result. The winner got half the vote, the loser also got half the vote. I stood behind, and I'm proud and glad to say that I was one of the principal architects behind the expansion of the Electoral College of our party in 2009 at the Trade Fair site. I think during my time as secretary, the MPP UK branch led the crusade for the expansion of the Electoral College of the MPP. So I'm glad that expansion has led to a lot of changes in our party. I mean, coming up the next presidential contest in our party, we're going to have something like 205,000 people voting. It's like, about 10 constituencies put together wouldn't select. So that's a good thing. People have their own issues about the expansion, but I would say it's the best thing. It's more democratic. It's opened up the Electoral College, or expanded, or I would say it's expanded the frontiers of democracy in the New Patriotic Party. And I mean, when Honorable Isaac was saying, having decided not to contest again, changed his mind and came back, I had done some good works on the ground, and I was pretty confident of winning. So the delegates on the 13th of June 2015, yes, came out and voted for me. Though it was a slim margin, I beat him by some 40 votes out of 640 delegates, very tight. But I'm sure the good people of Sumin or the good delegates of Sumin saw something good in me and felt that they needed a fresh face to lead the constituency into the general election of 2016. And they reposed their confidence in me, and the rest is history, I would say.
Great. Let's come to Parliament now. This week, it's been an interesting week. What many have described as some sort of, for want of a better word, a turf war between the legislature and the police institution. What's your own view on this issue? First of all, I think we have to apologize to Ghanaians. It's a very unfortunate debacle. I have the humble view that nobody is above the law. That includes the president, ministers, members of parliament, the judges, everybody. We are all subject to the 1992 Constitution. I'm also sure that the two provisions, for the benefit of our viewers, in our Constitution appears to be stand-alone provisions. You don't see the synchronization or the synergy between the two. One is saying civil or criminal process coming from any court or place out of parliament shall not be served on or executed in relation to. You see, that's two comments already. The speaker or a member or the clerk to parliament while he is on his way to attending at or returning from any proceedings of parliament. That's the 117. Yeah. The 118 also says neither the speaker nor the member, nor a member of, nor the clerk to parliament shall be compelled while attending parliament to appear as a witness in any court or place out of parliament. Well, looking at it, layman's view, I'm not a lawyer, but just going by the grammatical understanding of what is there, I think it's very confusing, and I think the Supreme Court ought to come out and give us a much clearer interpretation of the rules, because the perception out there is that MPs seem to think that they are above the laws of Ghana. That is not the case. And when you say MP, you don't refer to me as your classmate or your schoolmate. You are referring to the office. Yeah. And Ghanaians tend to forget that conveniently. The Constitution also says that the president, even if he kills somebody today, cannot be sent to court. Yeah. Because he enjoys full immunity.
Yes. You see, so it's not a Kufuado or Mahama. It's what the Constitution is saying. It's that it's the office. And people must try and make a distinction. Sometimes it's SOSU or it's region. No. It's the office. And Duke, we are all students of history. These things were not put in the Constitution for no reason. Under the First Republic, Kwame Nkrumah was arresting MPs on their way to Parliament.
PDA.
Yes.
PDA.
You see, so the provision has its antecedents. And that is why, in the wisdom of the framers of the Constitution, they inserted that provision there, right? I remember under Speaker Michael Quay, I don't want to mention names, about 3 or 4 MPs were invited to go to the police station. And also, I think it's very important to also make this point. People must be professional enough about what they do in this country. You don't expect to invite an MP to come to your office and you keep them waiting, show of force. That's how I say it. If you give somebody 8 o'clock, you must be ready to interview them and let them go. If a bail, you grant them bail and let them go. What tends to happen, according to people with past experiences, is that when they invite you, there's not that they keep you waiting for about 2 hours before they even speak to you. So I think we have a very experienced political scientist, politician, and a lawyer in this country, a speaker, in the person of Michael Quay, who said, okay, if you want to interview my MPs, I'll release them, but on condition that you come and interview them in my conference room.
But the concern has been that with this particular matter, the majority and the minority have taken entrenched positions on it, which has in a way created a certain perception in the minds of many Ghanaians that this is issue. Yeah.
You are not above the law. Majority or minority, you are still subject to the law, and you must submit yourself to the law. That's why the Constitution is very clear on the separation of powers, right? The courts have a job to do, the police institution has a job to do, and Parliament has a job to do. And my advice to the young man, Honorable Xavier SOSU, is to avail himself, submit himself. He's a lawyer. What can happen? You just go write a statement, probably a caution is taken, you go, and then if you are arraigned before court, you go and get a lawyer to defend you.
Criminal summons were issued against him yesterday.
It's very unfortunate. It's all unfortunate.
8 November.
It's a very unfortunate development, if you ask me, Duke. We don't need to get here. You see, the impression created out there is somewhat bizarre. Is that, oh, these people think they are above the law. Right? Just submit yourself. Let due process work. And see, let's all see what is going to happen. This is not a situation where, you guys were probably young, were not born at the time, when Rawlings were arresting people and putting them in jail without court, and Kwame Nkrumah was doing in the 60s. We live in a proper democracy now. Anything that happens is on social media. Right? So what at all can happen to Honorable SOSU? Right? Now the police are saying there are clear breaches of the Public Order Act. Right? You've blocked a road, you've blocked a highway, you've done this, you've done that. Just submit yourself. And I'm so surprised that a young lawyer that is rather trying to, play hide and seek with the law.
The justification, Honorable, has been that he was was doing his work as a member of Parliament, leading his constituents to draw the attention of the powers that be to bad roads in his constituency.
Whatever it is done, Duke, it's very well. Yeah. But if you are invited to a police station, you must submit yourself. That's all. Just submit yourself and go and explain yourself to them. Because if you are probably gone with a counsel and explain himself to them, these criminal charges or criminal summons wouldn't have happened in the first place. The thing is that the leaders of demonstrations are the ones who are found culpable in case of any disturbance or any violence or what have you. And in this case, you as a member of Parliament, you led the demonstration. There are video clips, there are footages to show that you are the one who led it. So if the law has caught up with you, just go and submit yourself and let us all see how things will pan out. But to say that you're not going to submit yourself, and to say that they must, speaker must be issuing letters back and forth, the police administration must also be issuing letters. It's not the proper way to go. It doesn't send a good signal. I think that he is a man who can walk into a police station, write his statement, and the police can even grant him a self-recognizable bail, which he can just walk away. And if they feel that a clear breach of the law or clear infraction of the law has taken place, they will charge him and send him to court. We shouldn't create an impression out there that we are superior to the law. It's very unfortunate, and that is the kind of noise that's been put out there. And this has got nothing to do with majority or minority. We are here, we have names, that's why we are here. I'm really a good member of SUBI. My name is Eugene Boachientri. If I fall foul of the law deals with me as a person, not the Parliament as an institution. Parliament is made up of individuals, 275 MPs, and we are all here, one in our constituency's name and in our own names. So I think Honorable SOSU should avail himself, and what at all can happen. What at all, maybe a fine or what at all. I mean, whatever it is, he should face the law. Okay. These are he's a lawyer. You should know the consequences of his actions.
Let's move on to the issues about digitization. It's a drive that the Akufo-Addo administration, this government has been on, spearheaded by Vice President Dr. Bawumia. The major concern, a lot of initiatives were announced on the night. E-pharmacy, newborn babies from 2022 would have Ghana cards and a lot of other initiatives. The concern we have is that, I mean, these initiatives are not translating into reality for the ordinary Ghanaian as fast as it should happen, if I may put it that way.
Duke, I mean, in your line of questioning, I think if you're always going to say that because this has taken place, we must enjoy the benefits of it straight away, I think it's also a very myopic view from where I sit. The good thing about what the Akufo-Addo administration through the Vice President is doing, from where I sit, is that one, is the impact on the economy, and two, the prevention of crime. You see why interest rates are very high in this country? Because you can't locate everybody. Yeah, why should I be paying 1% interest in Britain and come to Ghana and come and pay 32% here? Because in Britain, the car that I'm driving, then my number plate has everything on it. Once they please key in my registration number, tells them where I live, probably my insurance company and all that. In Ghana, why don't you have all these things? We've had independence for close to 65 years. We are still dealing with things that could have been digitized many, many years ago. And we've had a very visionary president with a very able team, use the vice president to lead such a crusade, to change the face of the things, the many things we do in our country. And people are mocking it, and people are throwing the Spanish into the works and saying all manner of things. But the good thing is, look, if these things, the benefit of these things will be seen, it's like the benefit of the free SHS. It will be seen maybe in a decade's time or 2 decades' time, where people will begin to enjoy the benefits. Let me tell you something. The good thing, there's a Ghana card now, right? The Ghana card has your biometric stuff on it. On the same Ghana card, it has your GPS address on it. It has your SNIT details on it. It has your GRA details on it. It has your passport on it, right? So in a nutshell, everything that you hold in your NHIS, everything that you hold as Duke Opoku Mensah is embedded in that chip.
The integration is taking a lot of time for people to understand how it works, and even you may even push that to the question of the NIA and the sensitization efforts. But the question is, how well has that been done?
Well, Duke, I think every innovation will have its challenges, no doubt. Especially when you're dealing with a country where about 70% of our population, if I'm being very modest, is uneducated. You understand? There are certain things that will find time, right, for it to seep up, what's the word I'm trying to find? For it to seep down or penetrate. But the good thing is, at least the initiative has been taken. It's for us, people like you, myself, others, to tell the people the features, the advantages, and the benefits of having such a system. Right? Now, why do you need a passport to even go to, say, Togo, if the Ghana card is integrated properly and Togo has accepted, or the ECOWAS has accepted its usage? These are the kind of things you have to think about. And Duke, also bear in mind, there are so many genuine people out there doing legitimate business who cannot have access to bank loans and stuff like that, or facilities from the bank. It's all because they are not traceable.
Lack of financial deepening, yeah.
So all this will bring in, will also add to the financial inclusion. I was so surprised that in Dr. Bawumia's presentation, he went on to say that it used to be 4% of people in the formal sector. It's now raising up to 80%. People are not taking note of these things. So there are people in this country making serious money and not paying anything to the tax system. Yet they want the hospitals to be built. They want the roads to be fixed. They want this to be done. How is the government going to do all this without taxes? Yeah. You see, so the good thing is that if you're able to digitize everything, and we know, I think in our time, people could have access to 3 or 4 passports. When they go to British Embassy today and they are refused a visa, they go and get another passport. Change their name. It's Duke Opoku Mensah, Duke Opoku, or Duke Mensah. People are doing that. But these days you can't do that. You understand? So you see, it's going to deal with corruption, it's going to do crime prevention, a whole lot of things, a whole gamut of things. And people must avail their minds to it. And not just look at the propaganda value of, oh, we hear this, we hear that, and Kufo started this, Muhammad. You see, sometimes I sit behind the TV, I watch and I say, look, is this the kind of civilization that we ourselves think that we've reached or we are pursuing? Whatever Kufo did, Kufo was expecting someone to continue. If NIA in 2006, after the law was promulgated, after the law was passed by Parliament, had been allowed to work, we're going to be in this position by now.
Continuity is an issue. It's a challenge.
And the Constitution is very clear. Article 34 is very clear. State policy. Yeah, it's very clear. But we are not interested. We are just interested in the noise, in the noise, in the noise. And it's as if that the more you shout in this country, the more people listen to you. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It's the more you shout or the more what I say, the more noisy you are, that's when you get attention. These things must be done on the quiet. These things must be supported by people who ought to know better. For us to go into our constituencies and tell them the benefits. You understand? Yeah. As opposed to a situation where everything being done, MPP sees everything bad in NDC, NDC also sees everything bad in NDC. That's not the way. That's not the way to build any serious country. This country must be built by politicians. You must understand that an initiative could be started by this administration, may not be completed, but when you come in, you're duty to continue.
Yeah, it's clear, but per what the directive principles of state policy is set out, much more. There's a need for nuance in governance, not the binary MPP or NDC. But we have to wrap up for want of time.
Sure.
So, and I would like to give you the opportunity to speak to your constituents briefly, yes, about what you're doing for them in Parliament.
Well, first of all, I'm here. They know what I'm doing. I keep telling them. You put it on the spot here. We are just expecting the finance minister to come to Parliament in the next week or so to deliver the budget statement. And then, as a matter of part, our duty is to make sure that we do the appropriations and get the appropriation bill to be signed by the president so that we can have access to more money to continue to develop our country. Being my first and major, I don't know how to put it, but my first and last major TV appearance, I guess the opportunity to wish all of them to a Merry Christmas and a prosperous Happy New Year. And I hope to see them soon.
So we're having an interesting discussion with the Honourable Eugene Wachenchi, Member of Parliament for Subin. That's how we'll wrap up this conversation. And next up, we'll be interviewing a member of the minority for his views on these issues as well. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us. Hello and welcome back from the break. We're having an interview with the Member of Parliament for Wa West, Superintendent Retired Peter Lanchene Tobu. He's a member of the Defence and Interior Committee of Parliament and a man who is very well versed in matters of security because of his background with the police institution. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Duke. How are you doing?
I'm great, doing well.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
You're
too,
always
sir.
looking good.
Thank you, sir.
You're a potential MP, I can see that.
Thank you. Well, let's begin by looking at your trajectory into politics. Briefly, how it's been like for you.
Thank you very much. Let me say good day to our cherished viewers. My trajectory in politics probably might need more than 2 hours, but for the purpose of this interview, let me just have an abridged version for you. Over the years that I've been into police and security for that matter, I got to realize that it doesn't matter what you do within the security circles. If there is no policy direction, there is no political commitment and political will, and no nation can develop. So you need a political will and the understanding of security And the fact that everybody will believe that without security we can have development, and by that we can make progress. So I look at carrying my security expertise, getting into politics, and be able to support policymakers to appreciate the fact that security is a very important component when it comes to matters of national development.
Okay, but let's look at how you contested for the position.
So at the point of getting out of police and going into politics, I was quite confident that with my background and the level of commitment that I have towards my people, if I get back home, they will be able to accept me. And in fact, that call was loud. It was actually a clarion call for me to go, and I responded. And they voted massively for me. All I do is just guided by the vision, and I think if you look behind me, you will find my vision statement there. What I want to do is to better the everyday lives of my constituents through the introduction of customized innovation in consultation with relevant stakeholders. If the people of Wild West are better under my leadership, that will excite me. If their the living standards are improved under my leadership, that will excite me. If the infrastructure within the Wild West constituency is improved out of my leadership, that will excite me. But basically, all I have to do is provide better human service to the people of Wild West.
So far, has that been very
that has been quite exciting. I've begun well, and step by step, though in opposition, the people are the best people to tell you how far and how best I'm doing. But I think that right from my heart, I'm excited that I've taken a bold move and a good step. And step by step, I can see light at the end of the tunnel.
Great. Let's look at a very important issue in Parliament this week. It's been a subject of discussion amongst many of your colleagues. The attempted arrest of the Honorable Francis Xavier SOSU. But before that, there was the dragging of 2 senior police officers, I may put it that way, to a privileges committee, and the matters that have unfolded so far. With your understanding of how the systems work within Parliament and in the police service, what do you make of everything that's going on so far?
Thank you very much. I've spoken variedly on this issue on many platforms, but in summary, I will tell you this is just a storm in a teacup, right? It's a storm in a teacup because if you look at checks and balances within our democracy, there is no way that Parliament will have to have some kind of conflict with the executive, neither can the executive have some kind of conflict with the judiciary and still survive as a democracy. We need each other to be able to build this country. Parliament is an independent institution. The police is a cohesive arm of government, and for that matter, the executive. And we have the judiciary. So these 3 organs must cooperate and coordinate to ensure that that synergy that is created will lead to national development. So when you find some disagreement between police and Parliament, it is quite worrying. But for me, I do believe that this thing will be ironed out very soon. In fact, it was actually needless to start with. I cited an example this morning. There is no police officer who will go to Mensah when Otumfo is celebrating Akosidai, and you see that one of the sub-chiefs is actually wanted by the police, and you find the sub-chief at Akosidai dressed in his regalia, and you say he's a suspect, you want to arrest him right on the spot. Everybody will tell you, yeah, you have the power to arrest, but there's some level of discretion that you have to use. There are other means you can get the person to court even without effecting that open arrest. So I have said that whatever the police did is their right to do it. But let's remember, this constitution that is here, every law in this country is anchored on the constitution. Every law. And the law says the MP has some immunities. The MP has some privileges. And this constitution was built based on the history that we had over the years. So if you find a way to, you think that it's necessary to arrest an MP, there's no problem. There is a procedure to get him arrested. You think that there is a way to get an MP to the court, there is a procedure. Nobody is above the law, including the Inspector General of Police, including the Speaker of Parliament. Nobody is above the law. But procedures must be followed. When the rule is right and the procedure is right, of course, all of us will get to appreciate the fact that if you are looking for an MP and you follow the right procedure and you get into the court, there's nothing wrong with that. I remember Professor Mike Okwe, the outgoing Speaker of Parliament. He designed a very simple strategy out of this. He said, look, police, if you are looking for an MP and there is a problem and probably Parliament is in session and I cannot release him, police come to Parliament, right? I will give you my own chamber. Sit in there, I will release the MP to come and sit with you. 2-3 hours, whatever information you need from the MP that can assist in investigations, you get it and go. If the MP will have to be put before court, you put him before court. The MP will be released to attend court. Everybody must be under the law and respect the law. So it is not a complicated matter. I don't see why it's degenerating and it's actually generated into heat and it's become a topical issue. How many MPs haven't been to court before? How many MPs haven't been arrested before? And what is new about this?
Is it a problem of a lack of coordination, or there is a lack of synergy between, in this case, the police? I mean, you can fault them, but is it because the coordination and the synergy between the two institutions, the police and the institution of Parliament, broke down at a point?
Well, I don't know whether it broke down, but I think that we have a new IGP and we have a new Speaker of Parliament. Yeah. Because they are both new, I would expect them to begin to relate and relate well. If they do relate well, I'm sure that many of these things will be ironed out. I don't see the problem in it. It's not a big problem at all. This is just a storm in a teacup. And I'm sure if the Speaker himself was in town, because the IGP is around, they just need a round table, sit, enjoy. Let's see how we can fine-tune this. It's all about procedure. It's not the law. It is a procedure. And out of that, they will be able to have some common understanding, and this issue will be resolved. If Honorable SOSU will be put before court, before court. You know what? This is a public order matter, guided by law, Act 491. And Act 491, if you look into the law, if you go on a demonstration that is sanctioned, and that demonstration in Madina was legal, if it is a legal demonstration and you go there and there is any cause of, you cause damage to public property, the law says the organizers will be surcharged. So if Honorable SOSU was part of the organizers, he's supposed to be surcharged with the cause of damage. Okay? I'm told that they've charged him with obstruction and cause of damage. And I've told people, listen, this is a member of Parliament who represents the constituency of over 100,000 people. If you put Honorable SOSU before court, and it's the right thing for you to do, and the court says you have fined this amount for causing damage to public property, and that is the right judgment, I'm very sure that the people of Madina will come together and contribute some Citi, some silver collection, and go and pay that thing off. Because he went in there as a member of Parliament to lead his people, motivate them to enjoy their constitutional right. It wasn't just for fun. So if something untoward happened and he breaches the law, and the law finds him on the other side and finds him to pay a fine, I'm sure that everybody will appreciate the fact that, oh yes, the people of Madina will stand with their MP. And Parliament will stand with one of their own. But the law must also be enforced. So together, police and Parliament, both of us must respect the law. And this show of superiority that is beginning to become the trend, that is like a turf war. Who is more superior? Somebody has the power to arrest. Somebody has the power to change laws. Okay? It's not necessary. The Constitution is structured in such a way that we need to respect what we call checks and balances. That is why it is like this. Nobody is more superior. Ghana is superior than both institutions, executive and the parliament.
There's a concern that this has also been characterized by excessive partisanship.
No, I don't see. I personally don't see.
Would that not be your? If you disagree, why so?
No, I don't see the partisanship in this. I am an NDC member, but I'm not going out to support SOSU because he's an NDC member. I am not going out to support the IGP because the IGP is supposed to be a police officer without a party. No, I am just speaking to the fact, what ought to be done procedurally and what ought to be done for us to have a synergy between Parliament and the police for this country to benefit. So I speak on matter of principle, and I don't see why, what is politics? Look, crime has no politics. Yeah. There is no political color when it comes to crime. What is important now is for us to be fighting violent crime. It's not for Parliament and police to be in disagreement. No. Parliament should begin to think about what can we do to let government give attention to the police, provide them what is actually required for the police to have the capacity to be able to manage emerging crimes. Modus operandi is becoming a very complicated one, and the police require some level of capacity to understand the emerging modus operandi within our criminal setup. So, of course, Parliament will have to stand with the police to support them to be able to perform. Because when the police is effective, all of us as MPs and our constituents that we represent in Parliament, they will enjoy the peace and serenity of this country. And I think all of us should be supporting the police. But that is not to say that when something is done by the police and we think that it could be done better, we shouldn't say it. No.
Okay. Criminal summons has been issued against him to appear before a court on November 8th on the charges of obstruction of a public highway and unlawful assembly.
Oh yes, criminal summons. You see the option? Yeah. The police has several options, and that's what I was telling you. On the day that they were trying to arrest SOSU, and they couldn't do it, if they had decided, listen, it's not a matter. We have the law in our hands to enforce. Okay, he is a lawmaker, and he knows the law better. Go to court and get criminal summons and serve on him, and let it appear before court. There wouldn't have been any noise at all. There are several options available for the police officer to enforce the law. And if you choose the wrong one at the wrong place, You can actually be doing the right thing at the wrong time, and it can have some cascading effect. There are certain communities in this country that when the police need a suspect to be arrested, they go tell the elders, and the elders themselves will produce the suspect before the police. The police will not go into the community with all the bravado to say, we are coming to effect an arrest. At the end of the day, the mandate given to you by the Constitution to maintain law and order, you would rather create chaos by just arresting one person. So it is good for the police to sometimes use a high level of discretion to ensure that social peace and cohesion is maintained. That is part of the responsibility, apart from preventing crime.
Okay, let's move on to the issues surrounding the digitization drive by the Vice President. There was a public lecture this week, which has also generated a lot of discussion about the digitization and digitalization drive in the country, about getting systems to talk to each other and to ensure that to deepen the reach of public goods, the economy, among other things. There's been some criticism that despite all the concerns and the innovation, there is an issue with the reality hitting the ground for many people.
You know, what people ought to understand is that if you talk about digitalization and digitization, you need an anchor, you need a foundation, you need a fabric to be able to stand on. And that is why during the Atamis John Mahama's time, they began to lay a solid foundation for a digital economy. They talk about the fiber optic backbone, you talk about the digital center, the Accra Digital Center. All these things that were done to be able to have a solid foundation for this country to be anchored looking at digitalization. So if the Vice President is talking about it now, it's because he's seen that there is a solid foundation that has been laid. And in fact, in this current world, right, the world is changing and changing so fast. It is better for us to think forward. Digitalization is the way to go. And I support that statement. But you know what? In fact, everybody believes that it is the right thing to do. But when you have somebody with that credibility making a statement that anchors on seriousness, people find it very difficult to believe.
That's a serious...
It's a very serious comment I'm making, because if you look at me from my constituency, when I was so excited in 2016, right, hearing my own brother, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, saying that, look, if you vote for me and vote for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, in the first 18 months of our administration, no village in this country will have a water problem or will have a toilet problem. We are 5 years down the line now. Go back to my constituency and say whether the toilet problem and the water problem has been resolved. So you create a credibility challenge for yourself. So when you make a very important public statement, and that public statement has a potency to even carry this country to another level, people begin to look at who is talking. Do you have credibility for us to believe in you? And that is a challenge that we have. Fantastic statement that he read. But if it is about the person reading it, Ghanaians will have a challenge to believe that it will come to pass. Because there are so many things that he has said, so many things, that if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. All of us were in this country. Today, the exchange rate has exposed everything fundamentally wrong. He goes back to say, no, you can't say that because the exchange rate is bad, the fundamentals are weak. And all of a sudden, he laughed by himself. So when you are laughing and everybody goes quiet, people are beginning to think, are we really on the right track? But I think that, look,
there
in
were some
principle...
innovations that were announced at that event.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the Ghana Card for Newborns by 2022, e-pharmacy, a platform where Ghanaians can access pharmaceuticals among other things. The Ghana Card registration this week is being decentralized, if for want of a better word, to many district offices and regions, so that people can have access to it, so that the platform can be rolled out. Is the concern with the innovation that has been rolled out without necessarily attacking the person or
Duke,
or the person bringing the info,
Duke,
making the presentation.
Duke, in principle, everything that the Vice President said, I support, in principle. But if he's supposed to drive it, I have a challenge. Because the person who's supposed to drive the innovation, the person who's supposed to drive our digitalization process, is a person when he speaks and you listen and you are excited. Just watch on the timelines. At the expiration of the timeline, you realize that nothing has happened. But this particular statement, if he's able to do it, that will be quite encouraging. But looking at his record on matters of statements and performance, if he's a driver of this digitalization process, I can tell you as a matter of fact, I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't believe that it will come to pass. So if there is a way we can let it come to pass, I will be excited. What is wrong with e-medicine? What is wrong with e-banking? What is wrong with having electronic system that works so well that we can reduce the human factor and it can reduce corruption, right? If you're able to go digital, it reduces so many things and it fastens the time of doing business. In fact, you can even stay in your house and work. If I don't have a problem, some serious statement to make in Parliament, I can actually join Parliament at home for 4 or 5 hours and still contribute seriously, unless I am personally required in the chamber. And I'll still become a very effective legislator. So digitalization is a good thing. And in fact, not only a good thing, it's a must for us to look at. So whether Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, His Excellency, drives it successful or not, it is something that Ghana must do if we want to remain relevant in the global space.
Well, finally, we'll give you the opportunity to talk to your constituents, having engaged you on these number of issues.
Yeah, for my constituents, I'm always excited when I'm talking to them because I've told them, Superintendent retired Peter Lanchene Tobo, I will say yes, sir. But if you say honorable member of Parliament, I salute the Wild West people because they have made me an honorable member, and I'm up and doing to ensure that the vision that I've set for myself to make your lives better through the consultation with other relevant stakeholders using customized innovation remains standing. I will never change, but let me speak a bit of my dialect, if you allow me. Aye manna karma, aye empinu, in bokampu ya baraka pa, alayan demob me akrakana, in tier ne yele pa, in donkunyi yele, ndankunyi ne jayla, ne jan votukmo, in tier yela, aye baljana tua bakoma, ita taking ina yele, in be opposition law, sisi mo nimbi ka yi konya malfo, ye baraka.
Okay. Thank you very much.
It's always
yes. So that's the Honorable Peter Lanchene Tobo, Superintendent, retired Member of Parliament for Wild West, Member of the Defence and Interior Committee. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us. This is the channel. This week on Duke's View, we're taking a look at the matter of the arrest of the Honorable Francis Xavier SOSU, the attempted arrest, for want of a better word. Now, it's one that has generated a lot of discussion, conversation. It's divided opinions on the floor of Parliament. But what is good is that increasingly both sides of the House, the majority and the minority, are beginning to embrace the position that the institution of the police service, which has the coercive powers of state, cannot or should not be in the position to breach parliamentary immunities and privileges in the manner in which they did. And it's one that both the majority and the minority have actually agreed upon after earlier on bickering and stating various positions which, in the perception of many, projected a certain idea that there was some sort of infighting or therefore amongst many of them with regards to this particular issue. A criminal summons has been issued. It's supposed to appear in court on November 8th to answer these charges, or answer for these questions or these charges that are the charge of obstruction of a public highway and unlawful assembly that have been slapped against him. It's important that the institution of Parliament protects their own, but the police are also doing their work. That's why it will be very important and necessary for these issues to be settled once and for all, maybe through an issue of the judicial directive or the judiciary taking notice, someone taking this matter to court for a precedent to be set so that this matter will be settled once and for all. But on the issue of parliamentary immunities and privileges, nobody is above the law. That has been stated time and time again. But there's a reason why members of Parliament enjoy these parliamentary immunities and privileges, because of their history and other things that have transpired or gone on over the years in this country. The most important thing is that currently there is some peace on the horizon because the majority and the minority have agreed not to allow bickering and excessive partisanship to lead the way in the resolution of this matter. It's also important, there are other very, very important issues that have been considered in Parliament this week. The ESLA account, the management of the energy sector levies, which was on the floor of Parliament today. It's important that a proper and critical account is given in this matter during the presentation of the budget, which is expected in the next few weeks, November 17th to be precise. That is a matter that is of concern to a lot of people, because this energy sector levies at a point in time were criticized as nuisance taxes, but as we speak, it has been extended and all of that. It's important that a proper account is given for this energy sector levies. That's how we wrap up Duke's View this week, and by extension, the Chamber. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku. Same time next week, we'll be here with another interesting edition of the Chamber. Keep watching Citi TV. Stay with us.